From the very first cry, Kiara Amarachuku saw what no one else could, and soon her warnings would mean the difference between life and ruin. From the moment she opened her eyes, the world felt different to her. While other babies screamed and kicked, Kiara lay silently, her gaze fixed on corners no one else noticed, as if she were watching something unseen, something that only she could feel. Her mother often whispered, "She's an old soul trapped in a child's body," and her father would shake his head, unsure whether to be proud or afraid. But even at that age, there was a weight to Kiara, a depth in her eyes that made those around her uneasy. By the time she was 3, strange things began to happen that could not be explained. One afternoon, her mother tried to take her into a woman's shop. Kiara clung to her mother's wrapper and said, "Mama, let us not enter. There is something wrong with her." Her words were brushed off as imagination, but by evening, the very woman Kiara had warned against collapsed from stress. Her parents laughed nervously, though the knot of fear had already begun to settle in their hearts. At 5, the family moved to a bigger apartment. What should have been a fresh start felt like a storm waiting to strike. The moment Kiara set foot in the new compound, she froze. Her small hands shook, and her eyes widened, as if the air itself carried danger. "I don't like this house," she whispered, voice trembling. "Please let's go back. Something is inside it." Her parents, tired and anxious, tried to convince her to enter. Neighbors stared as her cries echoed through the compound. "We have no choice, Kiara. Come with us," her father said, his voice firm, yet his heart pounded with unease. She clutched the gate desperately. "I don't like this place. Something is wrong here." Her words, sharp and urgent, seemed too heavy for a child. Night fell, and Kiara could not sleep. She sat on her mattress, eyes wide, staring at shadows that danced along the walls. "Mommy," she whispered softly, "this house, I don't like it. He doesn't like happiness." Mrs. Tabuku shivered, holding her daughter close, but could not fully soothe the fear that radiated from her small body. Within days, misfortune struck. Mr. Ugu returned from work, face pale, steps heavy. "I've lost my job," he murmured. That same week, fire consumed her mother's shop, destroying every good, every penny, every hope they had. Hunger, stress, and despair became their daily companions. Kiara watched silently, carrying a weight no child should bear, her eyes reflecting truths too heavy for anyone else. One evening, she approached her parents. "Daddy, Mommy, we must leave this house," she said quietly. Her warnings, once dismissed, now held a dangerous certainty. She spoke of buried evil the landlord had hidden in the ground, a curse that drained prosperity and joy from the lives of those who lived there. Slowly, her parents began to see the patterns. The fire, the lost jobs, the constant misfortune. Fear settled into their hearts. With borrowed money, the family left the cursed home. Life did not instantly become easy, but the dark shadow that had haunted them lifted. Food returned to their table, laughter softened the edges of despair, and small blessings began to appear. From that day, Kiara's parents stopped ignoring her words, though they still did not understand the full extent of her gift. Kiara's eyes never stopped seeing. The quiet child, once dismissed as wild imagination, carried a truth that no one else could bear. And even as life began to feel lighter, the small girl knew deep in her chest, her journey had only just begun. From the moment Kiara's gift revealed itself, life became both dangerous and lonely. She could see the truth that others tried to ignore, and it weighed heavily on her small shoulders. At 10, a Sunday morning at church brought the first true test of her courage, and the world around her would tremble because of a child. The church was crowded that day. The pastor had announced a building project, and members had contributed money for months. But as the sermon began, Kiara felt it again. The tightness in her chest, the ringing in her ears, her small hands clenched in her lap. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Without warning, she stood. Her parents tried to stop her, but Kiara walked toward the altar, head held high, eyes blazing with a fearsome clarity. The church fell silent. All eyes followed the small girl who dared step into the center of the sanctuary. "You ate the money meant for God's house," she shouted. Her voice rang like a bell, sharp and unwavering. "God is angry with you. You used it for yourself instead of the church you were supposed to build." Gasps echoed across the hall. The pastor's face turned white, then red, then pale again. "This child is possessed," he shouted, pointing at her. Take her away. She needs deliverance. The congregation murmured in fear, whispers spreading like wildfire. Kiara's parents rushed forward, gripping her tightly. She's our daughter. She doesn't understand, her mother cried. But even as they held her, fear had already taken root in their hearts. This was only the beginning. Kiara's warnings could not be silenced. On the streets, she stopped a young man who laughed at her caution. Please, don't go, she said quietly, eyes wide. There is death on that road. The man shook his head, chuckling nervously. I've waited for this trip for months. It's fine, little girl. The next day, news came. The bus he had planned to take had crashed. Everyone on board was gone. The young man fell to his knees, staring at Kiara in disbelief. Her eyes had warned him, but no one else had believed. Even those who had mocked her began to fear her. She spoke truths that hurt, that exposed hidden sins, that no one wanted to hear. Yet Kiara did not seek attention. She did not enjoy the fear she inspired. She only spoke because the truth burned inside her chest, demanding release. One afternoon, while helping her mother deliver food, she froze. Her eyes darkened, her small hands trembling. She approached a woman who seemed cheerful, but Kiara could see the sorrow hidden beneath her smile. You are barren, she whispered. Your husband has another child. The truth will come soon. The woman laughed nervously. Little girl, that's impossible. 3 days later, the woman discovered her husband's betrayal. The truth Kiara had spoken came to light. Undeniable. Fear and awe spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. People began to whisper. Some called her a witch, others a prophet. But Kiara did not care what they called her. She only cared about the truth. At home, her parents pleaded with her. Kiara, you must stop speaking to people. Not everyone wants to hear the truth, her father said, holding back tears. She obeyed, staying indoors, her mouth silent. But her eyes never stopped seeing. And still, she knew the world was only beginning to understand what it meant to ignore her warnings. Even after the church incident, life at home was quiet but heavy. Kiara had been silenced by her parents, forced to stay indoors, her small world limited to the shadows of her room and the street beyond the window. She watched the world, eyes wide, absorbing every sorrow, every secret, every hidden danger. Yet, even silence could not hold her gift. One afternoon, as she walked with her mother to the market, her chest tightened with that familiar heaviness. Ahead, a woman walked alone, shoulders slumped, her face hidden beneath a mask of fine clothes. Kiara could see the truth buried deep in her heart, a sorrow no one else could notice. Mommy, Kiara whispered, tugging at her mother's hand. I need to tell her. Her mother hesitated, fear flickering in her eyes. Kiara, remember what your father said. Keep quiet. But Kiara shook her head. This one is different. She approached the woman, small but fearless. You cry at night, you smile during the day, but your heart is heavy. God sees your tears, and he is ready to bless you. The woman froze. Her eyes widened. She did not know this child, yet Kiara's words pierced straight to the core of her hidden pain. How? How do you know this? She asked, voice trembling. No one told me, Kiara said softly. I just know. In 9 months, you will have 4 children. Dance, praise God for 1 hour. Don't complain, just thank him. The woman laughed nervously, thinking it impossible, but Kiara's calm certainty would not be ignored. She left, and Kiara returned home, heart steady, knowing she had done her part. Weeks later, the impossible came true. The woman, once barren for 10 years, discovered she was pregnant, not with 1, but 4 children. Doctors called it a miracle. Word of Kiara's gift spread quietly, reaching ears that feared and eyes that stared in awe. Life at home remained cautious. Her parents still tried to shelter her, but Kiara had learned something essential. Her gift could not be hidden forever. She could see danger, loss, and sorrow before it struck. She could also see joy and miracles waiting to be released. The world did not understand, but she would not remain silent. And even as she sat by the window, quiet and still, Kiara knew the day would come when her gift would no longer be a secret, when her words would change lives, save people, and reveal truths that others would rather ignore. For now, she waited, watching, feeling the pulse of the world around her. She had already seen too much to turn away, too much to be silenced again, And the quiet girl who once trembled at a house she feared now held within her the power to alter destiny itself. The world had mocked her, feared her, and called her a witch, but Kiara Amarachuku was about to show everyone the truth, and it would leave them in awe. From the moment the news spread that the woman Kiara had warned was pregnant with quadruplets, whispers followed the girl everywhere. Some feared her, some called her evil, and yet no one could deny the miracle she foretold. Even her parents, who had once tried to silence her, now watched with wide-eyed disbelief as their quiet daughter, once hidden behind curtains and whispers, became the center of a story no one could ignore. The woman, wealthy and respected, traveled to Kiara's home, her heart overflowing with gratitude. When she stepped into the compound, a convoy of cars followed, drawing the eyes of neighbors who whispered and stared. They had no idea who had come, only that the child they had long ignored had changed something impossible into reality. Kiara, standing at the gate, watched silently as the woman approached, holding her newborn quadruplets in her arms. The neighbors gasped. The air seemed to hold its breath. And then, without hesitation, the woman knelt before Kiara. "Thank you," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you for allowing God to use you." Mr. and Mrs. Ugu, frozen in awe, could hardly believe what they were witnessing. Their daughter, the quiet, mysterious girl they had tried to protect, was not only right, she was blessed beyond human understanding. The world had doubted her, whispered about her, feared her, but now the truth was undeniable. The woman revealed she was a billionaire, her heart and wealth now intertwined with Kiara's gift. She had come not only to thank the child who had saved her, but to honor her. She placed Kiara on a full scholarship and built a new home for her parents. The Ugu family, once trapped in fear and misfortune, now stood in a house filled with light, hope, and blessings. As neighbors looked on, some in disbelief, some with shame, Kiara finally understood what it meant to be seen. Her gift, once hidden, had revealed itself in full glory. People who had mocked her, whispered about her supposed witchcraft, now bowed in awe and respect. Fear had turned into reverence. Doubt had turned into belief. And yet, Kiara remained humble. She did not boast. She did not demand attention. She only watched the world, quietly seeing what others could not, silently guiding where she could, and rejoicing in the blessings that unfolded because she had obeyed what God had placed in her heart. Life changed for the Ugu family forever. The house was no longer a place of fear, but of joy. Small blessings returned to daily life. Her parents learned to trust her words, to honor the insight she carried. And Kiara understood that her gift was not a burden, but a calling. The world would continue to watch, to doubt, and to whisper, but for Kiara, it no longer mattered. She had fulfilled the purpose she had been born for. She had saved lives, revealed truths, and created miracles. And for the first time in her life, she felt peace. The girl who had once been hidden, silenced, and feared was now recognized as an instrument of God's will. And as she stood in the sunlight of her new home, watching her family laugh and live without fear, Kiara knew this was only the beginning. Her gift would continue to touch lives, reveal secrets, and bring hope where darkness had reigned. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspirational, true-life miracle stories that will touch your heart.